Hey guys, welcome. It's Heather from Tomatoes, Puppies, and Everything Gardening. So, I've got some tomato issues outside. If you've been watching my videos, you know I've had weeks and weeks, no rain, very hot, humid conditions. So, when I take you outside here in a minute, don't be surprised if I have to pull a couple plants. I actually pulled one yesterday, one of my super sweet 100s. It is not looking good out there. So, I think I actually have like 2-3 different things going on right now. Some of it could be just normal weather related and the plants will bounce out of it. I do think there's 2 plants I actually need to take out completely. So I'm kind of upset about that, and they were looking really great. But we'll talk about that when we get outside. Before we go out, I want to talk to you about what I do in the summer. So after the plants, the tomato plants get their flowers, their blossoms, they're gonna, drop those flowers, start developing fruit. At that point, I'm switching over how I'm feeding my plants. So I'm no longer trying to give them nitrogen or fish fertilizer or things that are going to help them grow. I'm thinking more now I need to be doing something to help with the fruit production. So something like a bloom formula, and there's several different companies that make bloom. I'm trying to think of different ones in the top of my head. So, they have a grow formula and then they have a bloom formula. So you can just pick one that you like. I use this one. It has no nitrogen, but it's got 10 and 10 for the potassium and the phosphorus. So that's going to help with your fruit, with the growth, making strong roots, but also strong growing fruit or bloom. This can be used on flowers too. Some of your beautiful flowers that are starting to look kind of puny outside from all this heat and growth, they may need a little bit of food too. But something I do all summer long, and some people might think I'm crazy, but I started doing this long before I knew it was actually a good thing to do. Whenever we finish a gallon of milk in the summer, I don't rinse it and recycle it like I normally do. I fill it up with water. I don't rinse out the milk, and I fill it up with water. I go pour it on something outside. Usually I try to focus on container plants, because they're more nutrient deprived than the ground plants. But something else I'll do, like every, let's say 2 weeks or so, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I'll add in a couple different things that help. And I know there's controversy about using Tums, but I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, and it is rare for me to get tomato rot bottom. Very, 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 very rare, because I do this all summer long. I do have one plant that developed it about a week ago. I made a short about that about that rot bottom. And that was my fault, because I was inconsistent with my watering. That plant had dried out several times. You don't want to let your plant dry out like that. And it really was in need of extra soil in the pot. It was a container plant, so it was already at high risk of developing blossom end rot. So I pulled off all those. And I've been really diligent this past week on keeping my watering consistent with especially the tomato plants in containers. So I think he'll bounce out. Plus I did sprinkle a little gypsum in his soil the other day, and that will help with calcium too. And we talked about that last video. Anyways, so I use Tums as a preventative. It's not going to help with the watering inconsistency, but it will put a little bit of calcium into your soil. And I don't know, I know some people say this doesn't work at all, but for me it has really helped. So whenever I have an empty jug, fill it up with water, don't rinse it. Every 2 to 3 weeks I'll pop like 3 or 4 of these in here, let it dissolve. This one's already dissolved. And I'll also put in whatever I want to feed my plants, like the bloom. Sometimes what I also do is I put in a little bit, like a teaspoon for this whole gallon of blackstrap molasses. This has so many nutrients. It's high in potassium. There's micronutrients in here. I think it's high in iron. So I also put in some of this occasionally. I don't do this every single time, but every 3 weeks I'm doing the Tums. Usually I'm putting in some kind of feed. I may only do the molasses maybe once or twice a season. And then sometimes I also like to throw in a couple squirts. This comes with a pipette. I don't know where it is. Of this Super Thrive. This has a lot of vitamins too. So you can see I'm trying to keep my plants healthy, and this has worked for me, so I just keep doing it. So we're going to do that today. We're doing the Tom's water. We're doing the bloom. I'm only going to put one or the other of these two. Probably, I don't know. I don't know which one to do today, but we've got a lot of issues, and I'm going to show you what's going on, what I'm thinking about doing to cure the situation. But most likely some of those plants are getting taken out. There's a few that we will just watch after removing the affected leaves. I may have to do some peroxide spray for some of these plants. I don't know. We'll go have a look and you can tell me what you think. All right, so this says every 3 weeks during the growing season, which that's about what I was doing, every 3 weeks. And for vegetable plants, 1 tablespoon per gallon. And that's probably what I put in. Let's see what it says for roses. What does it say? Where'd they go? I just saw it. Oh, 2 tablespoons. And I noticed for the berry shrubs, it says 2 tablespoons. So I think I'll do 1.5 because I want this to be a little concentrated and a little bit versatile because I may throw a little bit on my roses as well. About 2 teaspoons of the blackstrap molasses. That's about what I normally do, 1 or 2 teaspoons. And you can see that it's very high in potassium. And it also has magnesium and iron and some other things as well. But the plants really do seem to like this. So we're just going to do, I got, I think, 3 or 4 tums in here. I've got 1 to 2 teaspoons of the blackstrap molasses. And what I do is when I buy a new one for us, I just rotate and give the old one to the plants. And then got the feed here ready. But before we do that, we'll do that last. We need to address some issues. It's not with any of these guys up here. They will get fed though today. These guys have gone absolutely bonkers. Look at them. So we will work on these guys a little bit. They need some tying up. I will try to do the squat that we did in the last video with them as much as possible. Get them to kind of shrink a little bit. Squat them down if possible. Probably not at this stage. They're really getting strong, thick vines. These are all indeterminates. You can see they're much taller than me. We're going to top them. I'm going to squat them as much as I can. I'm going to get them trellised up as well as I can. I've got a bunch of more bamboo sticks I need to bring over here. And then if they're this tall, they're going to get topped because that's just too heavy. So that's what's going to happen with all of these guys. But look at these tomatoes. They get bigger every day. Cannot wait. Now this one is thinking about it. Wanted to get a little rock bottom, but I don't think it's going to develop. Fingers crossed. What we're doing today will help with that. The problem is actually with the tomatoes in my raised bed area. So let's go look at them. Green stalk ones doing good for the most part. One of the tiny Tims, these two look great. Phenomenal. This guy is getting some issues. I think it's just a watering issue. So what I normally do this time of year with plants that have leaves that look like this is I just break them off and the plant usually does just fine. This is just a normal problem. This is what I would call a normal problem. But the plants in the raised bed area, we'll go look because that's not a normal problem. These tomatoes look good. They will get fed today as well. These tomatoes got planted really late, but they look good. They do need tying up. We're gonna squat them. They haven't been squatted at all yet. Tie them up. All right, you ready to go see the problems? You can spot this problem straight away. I think this tomato on this far corner here, these are all indeterminate big beef steak tomatoes. I think it has some kind of wilt, but I'm undecided. Either wilt or I was thinking maybe a watering issue because we've been so dry, no rain. I would say the first week and a half of our 3-week no rain, I was not the best at coming out here and watering. The last week and a half, I've been very diligent, but I don't know. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to maybe pull that guy. What do you think? He's got some growth that looks normal and healthy. but probably half of the plant looks kind of suspicious. It could be a variety thing, but I think it might have some form of wilt. Not all of the diseases are soil-borne. Some of them are actually from pests and insects biting. And, well, let's look at this clip of my Super Sweet 100 from yesterday. So I'm feeling pretty tomato sad right now. And it is because I'm seeing a lot of issues that I normally don't see this early. I think it's because of all the heat. I don't like the coloring on the top of these tomatoes. And I knew that my Super Sweet 100s were struggling for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm actually going to go ahead and pull this guy and put someone else in his place. I mean, he does have some fruit on there, but this plant most likely will not make it. He was planted at the exact same time as these cherry tomatoes. And so both of them have struggled. Both Super Sweet 100s, we have had drought, we have had extreme heat, no rain, 2 to 3 weeks. I think this variety is probably not going to be a good one for me. You can see the crispy leaves. Been trying to water. I just can't keep up with the needs of this plant. I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to put another Berries Crazy right here that I still have. And these guys look good. These guys, troopers. So we got Brad's Atomic. We've got a Berries Crazy. And then we've got 2 Sun Sugars. One of them was just a cutting, like a sucker that I rooted and planted. This one right here. He should be fine. So after that clip, about an hour later, I just came over, took him out. I had this leftover little baby plant in my reserve for if I needed a plant. So I just popped him in there. And this is the other Super Sweet 100. And I think it will pull through. And I do think it was a watering issue. And I think if I remove all of this dried up debris, it will be okay. Fingers crossed. So the other plant, the second plant I'm really worried about, I'm not really worried about that one, is that guy over there. So I'm going to go get my pruners and some disinfectant and really go through each section of that plant. But I think it's got some kind of issue it probably can't recover from. I don't think it's the wilt. I think it might be more some type of blight, which really stinks because it was looking good. And somebody over there has a really big tomato that I've been watching. I don't think it's from that guy though. But we'll find out in a minute. Now, the bluing on these plants over here, just because this plant is high in the anthocyanin, the fruits get really black. And so the leaves have a real dark tint, but that is normal for this plant. So he is fine. This Ace 55, Geranium Kiss, doing okay. Look at all those babies. I had another plant back here that was struggling a little bit. Yeah. This guy. But he's got some fruits. They're wanting to think about blushing, but they're so tiny. I think I'm going to have to pull him because he has not been growing. The deer may have been eating on him. He don't look the best. I don't think he likes the heat either. It's been extremely hot, extremely. And then this guy was the one with the rot bottom. Put a clip here. So I've been trying to rehab him the last week and a half. See if there's any more blossom end rot starting. I've put some gypsum down in his soil as well. Hopefully he'll be okay. And I ordered these soaker hoses. That has helped me the last week and a half with this heat as far as getting everybody watered. You can see the voles are tunneling through here. They got tired of Tonto digging up the tunnels in the backyard, so now they have come to my front garden area. Oh, I guess this guy looks okay. All right, let's go get the pruners. All right, I just pruned up the Glacier tomato. It is a determinate, and you can see I actually did prune it. And that is because I wanted to make it squat down, get the roots lower so that I could make all this growth come down a little bit. Did not prune any suckers at all, just leaves that were way down in here. And I've got the basil, I pruned that up a little bit too. I just wanted some airflow all through here, especially since I've been seeing some disease in some of the other plants. So this one looks good. I'm gonna let it be, and hopefully we get some fruit really soon. The eggplant to the right of that Glacier needed a little help too, so he needed to be retied, but then I pruned some of those lower leaves, and that had a little maybe blighty issue starting, so I took that leaf off, and look, there's a sucker. You can take suckers from eggplants and root them as well. Okay, so while trying to get this first tomato here that I'm working on to squat more than I tried a few weeks ago, I cracked the stem right here. So I'm just using some craft tape. I usually just use green masking tape. If you get a crack, I've even broken a stem and taped it back together, and it grew roots and it healed itself. So hopefully it'll be fine. So now we've got to think about topping it. Okay, so I may go ahead and top him after that last set of leaves there on the right, or I may wait until there's some flowers beginning right up there. I may keep those and then top it after that point. I'm kind of worried though because of me cracking the stem. I'm hoping my repair job does an okay fix. I am going to go ahead and get some more soil and bury the stem more, just to help him out. Maybe he can put down some more roots right here. You know, I was a little too aggressive. That's on me. So I'm going to give him a few dashes of this, put some more soil, and this container is done for now, and then it will get topped eventually because I don't want it taller than that. That's really tall. I'm going to have to get on a ladder. And now we've got these three guys to work with, but we're going to have to wait till tomorrow morning because it is dark. All right, y'all, it is the next morning. I have thought about this crack probably like 50 times since it happened. I still feel so horrible. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have tried to push the limits of bending this plant. Even burying this isn't going to help with this crack. I'm worried about this plant. This is the only source leading up to the rest of the plant, and I'm worried it won't get enough water, nutrition. I mean, it's still, I can feel the crack right here, still attached here on the backside, but I don't know if enough nutrition will be able to filter up from that point to support this humongous plant. So I'm really worried, really worried. And this plant, I think it's Whitmore, it has not even started. I mean, it's got the blossoms, it's got the flowers, but I mean, it does not have any fruit yet. So maybe it's like a late bloomer, late producer. I don't know. I'm just worried. So it's a wonder I even slept last night. Shouldn't have done that. So I think what I'm going to do, remember I picked off these suckers a couple weeks ago. It was like 12, 14 days ago. You can see the roots. What I'm going to do with this sucker from this plant is I'm going to go ahead and stick it about right maybe here, so that if things don't go my way and this poor plant ends up dying and not getting enough nutrition and water because of that crack in the stem, I will have this guy right here already in place, ready to take off. So that's what I'm going to do. You hear the cicadas this morning? I think they're up in there somewhere. Let's just work my way down the line here, tying these guys up, giving them their feed, and I'm going to try not to bend anymore. I'm just going to tie up and try to support all of these growths, these new growths. And I did cut the suckers, you know, last time I made a video, but, well, there's one right there. Probably this is the top of this guy. I'm not going to let him grow any taller than that. If he does, he will get topped, chop his head off. And then you can see we got some finally rain, and with that rain came a storm, and all of these guys got bent over. So they need to get fixed. They need to get fixed immediately. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. Probably take me at least an hour. Not going to record, but I'll show you the after here in a few minutes. One other thing I wanted to say is sometimes, you know, I do the squatting, trying to get that stem to bend when it's pliable. Sometimes you can get your tomatoes to turn upside down if they're still pliable enough. This one's got a little ply to it, a little give, but I'm not going to chance it. You can get them to turn upside down and point them down so that they start growing downward. And I think I do have an example of that, I think, on one of these guys right here. So I'm starting to train this vine to kind of point down, and that will help me with space as far as growing these tomatoes in containers. All right, so I got that sucker there buried nice and deep, and then I'm going to start on this guy, and I see that the squirrel has already been bearing peanuts. So I will dig that up and get busy with this. I'm kind of procrastinating, guys, but I got to get it done. Got to get it done. It is way out of control. All right, I got them all done. Yay. So anything that grows past that point will get chopped. We're going to control the upward growth. I'm sure I'll still have some more suckers if I want any more horizontal growth or bushing out, but this one was a beast. This is like a very productive plant. I would love to see this plant in the ground someday. I'm going to grow it in the ground and just let it go wild. This is Granny Cantrell, and it's my first one to get these tomatoes going, and it is just wanting to grow and grow and grow. I think there's a bug right there too. No, I put on my glasses. It's not a bug. It's just something. But yeah, this one will definitely be getting topped. Probably I'll let those fruits go, and then that's it. That'll be it. I do have a couple suckers with great roots down in there for this guy, and I kind of spread them out. Kind of spread the pots out, interplanted the peppers, so I got even more airflow now, and you can see I heavily pruned the bottom leaves. So I think these guys are good and set up for, you know, at least another week, and then I'll probably be doing some topping of their heads, chopping. And so now we're going to move on. I'm not going to take care of the green stalk tomatoes today. We took care of one eggplant, one tomato over there. I've got another eggplant, and my black creme is doing beautiful in this location. This is a very low part sun location. And my eggplants, my glacier, my black creme, very, very happy. So we'll get over there and work on them. And then when we're done with the healthy plants, that is when we're going to move over to the plants that are probably going to come out today, because I didn't want to touch them and then be working on my healthy plants. All right, just finished the black creme. Did prune him up. He has a sucker that I put down in there 13, 14 days ago. Both of the eggplants are done now. Glacier's done. We're not working on the green stalk tomatoes. I got the duck tomatoes done. You know that we worked on the ones in the white containers. I think they're going to do okay. And I've got this little hidden tiny tin there with my rose. That is for rose protection. The benefit of the rose. So now we're going to work on these guys. And I just had this thought. Most of the tomatoes that are struggling are not in the backyard here. They're actually in the fuller sun locations. So that's making me think maybe there is a benefit to having more shade than I really need or want. But the tomatoes seem to kind of do a little bit better with a little bit of part sun. The black creme beans are doing well. So we're going to get out there and work in the raised bed area in just a minute. I wanted to show you this Rudbeckia. This is called Caramel Rudbeckia. It is just beautiful. So I think I'm going to work on these 4 guys here, and then we're going to take a break because it is getting hot and very humid. Okay, later the same day, it's evening now, and I'm trying to make a decision on this guy. He does look slightly better. But still really rough. I think I'm going to start by just removing all of the diseased leaves, see what I'm left with, and then make a decision about pulling the whole plant. And then this guy over here, you can see it's kind of splayed out during today. I don't know why, but maybe that's part of whatever's going on with it. Same thing, I'll just get in there, see what I'm dealing with, and make a decision. Can you see the tunneling that the voles are doing? And it appears someone is tunneling in this bed. If I had it to do again, I would have lined my raised beds with hardware cloth at the very bottom. Do worry that they are eating the roots. And Tonto cannot get to the critters since they're over in this area. All right, I think I'll save this plant for last. Take some really good pictures so I can try to figure out which of the many tomato diseases this is. I'm actually going to start over here. Get these guys cleaned up to make a decision on the second super sweet if it needs to go or stay. So I decided to give him a chance. I think it was early blight. I cut off everything that looks suspicious. We'll see what happens. It looks extremely puny. Went ahead and severely pruned all these cherry tomatoes. But I left all the suckers. But I just cut off the leaves. Now we need to move over here. Let's get a closer look. So I looked it up to see which one. It's Whitmore. This is the one that's having a hard time. Whitmore. It's an heirloom. It's won taste contest before. It's supposed to taste really, really good. But look at how wilty he is. So it's dark and I completely cannot see anymore. I did trim the 3 big indeterminates in here. And since it is dark, although it doesn't look like it on the screen, I'll make my final decision in the morning on this guy. This wilty, maybe tomato wilt guy. And then we'll make our decision on who knows what guy. Maybe some kind of fungus. Maybe late blight. I don't know. It's the next morning. Before we take care of those 2 plants that I'm worried about, I'm going to show you my front yard hidden from the HOA tomatoes. So these are Artisan Blush. I've got 2. I just planted them like 4 or 5 days ago. They were living in those little grow pots from way back when I started my seedlings from seed. And I just decided, let's just stick them there and see how they do. And then let's go find, there's one more hidden in my front yard. Now the deer have found it, of course, but hopefully the HOA don't see it. And it's this guy right over here. It's Indigo Rose. And he recovered from getting topped. The deer had eaten off the top part probably about 2 weeks ago. Now he's looking okay. I do need to prune off some of these lower leaves. Just to make sure he don't get any disease. All right, a couple more to go look at. Alright, I'm back over in the raised bed area. I gotta make a decision. I forgot. Look, there's another tunnel about this plant. Ugh. I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna pull this whole plant. But I will take the fruit. Hate that. This guy's looking rough too. I think I will just prune him and see what happens. Prune off everything. It's yellow. I think he'll be okay. It's about time to get some peppers. See, the deer came through, ate all my strawberry tops. Some leaves I want to cut off of these plant. This is another indigo rose with, I don't think I can do that with my hand. I need some pruners. Queen of the Night. So there's Queen of the Night and indigo rose. Can't tell which is which. But somebody's been munching over here. Yes, they did. Look at that. They took the whole top. Overall, this is okay. This is healthy. Both of these plants have a lot of those anthocyanins. And I think I'll pinch this leaf off. Pinch this leaf off. I just need to go get my pruners. This whole leaf set will go. They're so pretty. All right, let's look at this Ace 55. He looks okay. I just clean up the bottom, get some airflow going. Accidentally broke some of these branches off the other day trying to put it in the cage. What's wrong, buddy? All right, let's see how this geranium kiss. It's got a little bit of discoloring there. Probably prune him out too. Oh yeah, he does actually. I'm gonna take off all these lower leaves. And here we go. This is another indigo blue. Or it's an indigo rose. Indigo rose. Definitely these leaves need to come off. That would probably be some blight since it's starting from the bottom up. This is just normal coloring for this plant, like we talked about. And then we've got to figure out what to do with this one. Actually, I think it looks maybe a little better today. What do y'all think? How about 20% better? I don't know. It's a hard decision, guys. I think I'm going to do this one last. I'm going to take off all the diseased foliage, and then there's also a Queen of the Night back in there in a container. Just going to check on it, make sure there's no weird things going on. Now this is Artisan Blush, and it looks weird to begin with. It just has a weird pattern or structure. This is normal, and it looks pretty healthy. There's these guys that I pruned up last night. This guy kind of looks better too, but still sickly. Supposedly, if you have bacterial wilt, if you take a stem cutting, put that stem in a cup of water, jar of water, leave it many, many hours overnight. If white stuff comes out of the stem, it's bacterial wilt. Some people treat it with injecting peroxide. Like I said, it looks slightly better. What if it just had a really bad time with the early blight? Except it's still really wilty. And maybe it's just heirloom type thing. This is an heirloom plant. Maybe it's just having a hard time in the heat. And it has blight. I mean, there could be so many different things going on with this plant. I mean, it has so many fruits that have set and still look okay-ish. So I think I may cut everything that's diseased off and then just see how the next 3 to 7 days goes. Because obviously the plants, knock on wood, around it are still doing great. So I found this bunch of leaves. So I'm wondering, is this the Septoria? But I don't see any white center in the black dot. Maybe it's a combination of 2 different diseases. Maybe it's just some kind of leaf spot or speck. I don't know. The inside of the stem didn't look too bad, but there is kind of like a whiteness in there. And so I saw I had these offshoots, these 2 growths. I think I'm going to leave those 2 growths and cut off everything all the way up, including all of this fruit. There's tons of babies, tons and tons and tons of babies, but these look horrible, and I think it is ascending, and it won't be long because these are so droopy. So I'm going to cut it all the way down and see what happens. I think that's the right thing to do at this point. Top off. There is a lot of white in the center here. To be fair, I've never just looked inside of the stem, but I think it's normally green. I don't think there's white. And I don't want to go top any of my healthy plants to look, but pretty sure that's not something I've normally seen when cutting on tomato plants. And this is what we're left with. And there's actually fruit developing. And it looks really healthy, this growth. So y'all just have to come back in a couple weeks and see what happens. Hopefully I made the right decision and this whole bed doesn't get infected with something. All right, we got one more problem to go look at, and then this video, thankfully, will conclude because I feel like it's taken like 4 or 5 days. The inside of this stem looks very different, and it's you can see that there's some cellular damage on the internal part of the stem. It's almost like it's compartmentalized, or like there's sections, and it doesn't look normal at all. So I've decided I'm taking the entire plant out, and as I get farther down, you can see it's had extensive flea beetle damage really early on. So I wonder if that was the beginning of some fungal issues. What are those other bugs that carry? I don't even know if flea beetles can. I don't see why they couldn't transmit disease, but what are those other ones? They carry a disease for tomatoes. Gosh. Thrips. Yes. They do carry one of the diseases, but I can't remember which one. Anyway, this whole plant's coming out. The good news is I have 1 tomato left, and it's actually the same variety. Even the fruits are really misshapen. Kind of odd shape. You can see it's kind of growing at a weird, it's not a circle, it's like globular on different edges. And then the same thing with the stem way down here. It's definitely not, there's something going on in there. Something definitely. Rotating my pruner every other plant and spraying in between. Every use I spray right after. And I'm leaving everything in the sunshine to help kind of disinfect and kill off any fungus. And spraying this on my hands as well between each plant. And this is my very last plant from 2024 seedlings, and it just so happens to be the exact same plant I just ripped out, Moonglow. So I'm going to prune off the lower leaves, get him planted, and see how he does. Hopefully no issues. So the black creme, I heavily pruned him. I think he is going to be okay. I did go ahead and cut this off. It had heavy cat facing, and well, I accidentally broke the stem it was on, but it wouldn't have been too pretty anyway. So the artisan blush are trimmed, the black creme is trimmed. I trimmed back here a little bit on the Queen of the Night, and also indigo rose, cantaloupe looking good here. And I planted the last plant that I had, the Moonglow. So I need to make another potion up and feed all of these guys. I haven't even fed these guys yet. I did feed those guys and these guys. So feed all these guys, a few of the other container tomatoes, and that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you have any thoughts, comments, please put them below, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.